Have you ever opened YouTube and found that the algorithm is suggesting a video that addresses exactly what you've been thinking about recently, like it's reading your mind somehow? I think it's probably some kind of confirmation bias or selective attention that makes it feel that way. But either way, I've had it happen twice in the past month, and I wanted to talk about the videos I saw and how they relate to an experience I had. The first one I saw almost a month ago, and it was called Why Do Autistic People Seem So Selfish? But it wasn't the title that got my attention, it was the text in the thumbnail, which read, Reciprocity looks different for us. When I first saw it, I felt resistant. I felt an urge to watch it, but didn't want to for some reason. I remember I closed YouTube, but the first thing I did the next time I opened it was search for the video specifically so I could check it out. It stood out to me because I was in a situation with someone where I liked them, and they said they liked me, but I didn't feel like they were reciprocating my feelings or affection. In the video, it's argued that neurodivergent people and neurotypical people have different expectations about care and reciprocity in relationships. It is suggested that neurotypical people tend to expect others to show care and reciprocity in the same way that they do, whereas neurodivergent people tend to express these in their own way and in their own time. An example given in the video is compliment giving. It's suggested in the video that when a neurotypical person gives a compliment, receiving a compliment in return would meet their expectation for reciprocity, but a neurodivergent person would not necessarily intuit or hold the same expectation because, for them, a compliment is given for its own sake, with no need for the gesture to be returned. It's in this supposed disconnect or difference in expectations between neurodivergent and neurotypical people that the question in the video's title emerges. If neurodivergent people aren't reciprocating in the way that neurotypical people expect, then they may be framed and shamed as selfish. I'm not sure if I see the value in attributing these different kinds of expectations to neurodivergent and neurotypical people generally, but I got the sense that the person who made the video, who identifies as neurodivergent, wanted to defend against the shaming word selfish and empower a narrative where the neurodivergent way of being was not less than, just different. They were inspired to make the video after reading in the DSM-5 that one of the diagnostic criteria for autism is having deficits in social emotional reciprocity, which, if it does say that, and it uses the word deficit in some way, it seems kind of unfair. Who's the grand expert on what reciprocity should look like universally in all relationships? The video I saw makes a compelling point that reciprocation can mean different things to different people. I said earlier that I was talking to someone who I didn't feel was reciprocating my affection. Though they were describing us using terms like budding relationship and romantic, I didn't feel liked or cared about, just anxious, insecure, and precarious. Though I tried, I found it impossible to connect their words with their actions, and maybe my expectations, or what actions I knew would make me feel liked and cared about. When I reflected, I thought, sure, I guess that the kind of attention and affection that I've been giving this person is the same kind that would make me feel liked and cared about if it came my way. But it wasn't a conscious expectation or need for exchange, concretely. Then I thought about the exceptional moments when I did feel liked, and realized that they were both times where a gesture that I had made was mirrored by them right after. The first time at the end of a phone call, I said, I like talking to you, I like you. They responded, I like you too. The second, in messages, I reflected to them that when I was talking to a friend about time that we had spent together, I felt happy and that it probably meant that I had a crush on them. They responded saying that they were developing a crush on me too. I shared these things with them freely, with no expectation of receiving anything in return in the immediate moment. I was pleasantly surprised when they shared that they felt the same way in these moments. Still, these moments felt like finding an oasis in a desert. It was like, finally, it makes sense for a moment. The truth is shown, they do like me, like they've been saying, and I finally found it and can feel it. However, if we suppose that what's argued in the video is true, and we also presume that neurodivergent people may experience or intuit shame messages regarding reciprocation, then this is where we get into something not mentioned in the video that I think is important: masking. Masking generally refers to when neurodivergent people hide or suppress neurodivergent traits and or change their normal way of being to better match neurotypical expectations. The person I was talking to may or may not have liked me or had feelings for me. It's possible they just found it easier or safer to express it when I did. I don't know. That's for them to say. I think it's also possible that they felt like they had to return the gesture, despite me not outwardly expecting them to, as a form of habitual masking. I should mention that by the end of when we talked, though we didn't get into specifics, they considered aloud that they may identify with masking, and when I was first getting to know them, they said they identified a lot with ADHD. So while a lot of this is conjecture, it is educated conjecture. So to summarize so far, I watched a video in which the argument was made that neurotypical people and neurodivergent people have different expectations regarding reciprocity in relationships. And I also inferred that neurodivergent people may be likely to experience shame messaging about this, which could lead to masking behaviors. I related this to my experience with someone who I gave attention and affection, who said they liked me, but did not make me feel liked through their actions, and who I believe could have been saying they liked me as a form of masking to meet expectations they perceived me to have around reciprocity. If I had expectations that this person should have reciprocated my attention and affection, they were subconscious or outside my awareness. In my awareness, I believed they had no obligation to like me at all, though I did want them to. This is where my story could become a little messy. On one hand, I am open to empathizing with people who might feel the need to mask. On the other, though, I feel entitled to authenticity in my relationships. If we take neurodivergence and masking completely out for a moment and focus on and empathize with my raw experience of this person, it was quite torturous for me. Being told that I was liked by them, that I was important to them and cared about by them, filled me with a false hope. I was led on, and though I felt sick in my gut about it, I poured my attention and affection into what felt like a void, where it was completely wasted and I got nothing back. When I would check in about this feeling with them, they would perpetuate a narrative that was meant to reassure me not to worry, that everything was fine. The message I was receiving each time was something like, keep holding on, stick around, and it'll get better later or over time. So I did. I stuck around. I continued to pour myself into the abyss, wasting myself without realizing it. I chose to believe them because I felt I was already in too deep and didn't want to lose what I thought I had. This is where the second video comes in. It was called You're Not Anxiously Attached, You're Responding Normally to an Unavailable Person. This video annoyed me because it was posted 8 days before I watched it, and it was saying something I was considering making a video about, and they beat me to it. Essentially, in the video, it suggested that some individuals may internalize the term anxious attachment style and blame themselves when they feel insecure in relationships, when really they might just feel that way because the other person is not making themselves emotionally available and is creating and fostering insecurity. I was thinking about making a video criticizing attachment theory and arguing that the idea of assigning styles of attachment is not helpful, as security is relational and dynamic between different people. With some people in my life, I have felt anxiously attached, and with others, I felt totally secure. While I can believe that how readily or easily we can allow ourselves to feel safe or secure in relationships is likely affected by our experiences up until the present, labeling ourselves and identifying with attachment styles has the potential to create self-fulfilling prophecies, make us feel our options are limited, and make us less likely to take responsibility for our choices. In the video, some very similar things are said. The role of the nervous system is also brought up, which you won't be surprised resonated with me, given how I said earlier I felt sick in my gut about the relationship I've been talking about. It's argued in the video that the nervous system adapts to precarious and unsafe situations, including relationships, and that this can manifest behaviorally in the same way an anxiously attached person might act. The concept of co-regulation is also cited, which suggests that our nervous systems react to other nervous systems in our environment, meaning that if one person is dysregulated, it can affect the other as well. There's a quote from the video that kind of made me feel called out in a good way. It was, "The most dangerous thing about misattributing relational anxiety to the self is that it protects the relationship at the expense of the person." And though I wasn't framing it in terms of attachment style, I was thinking there was something wrong with me for being so anxious all the time about the relationship. I thought I was crazy. I was scared that what I wanted in terms of reciprocation and attention were totally wrong, and I kept them to myself as best I could for fear of being behaviorally coercive or controlling. Who am I to demand attention? What obligation does this person have to give me what I want? And why do I even want it so bad? The whole thing was so confusing. I was completely at war with myself over it. But you know who I was to want attention? A human with a brain and a nervous system who was being told one thing and shown another. In my gut, I knew something was wrong and inauthentic. I didn't feel safe because I wasn't safe. In the end, I was badly hurt, just like my nervous system was warning me about the whole time. But why protect this relationship? From the outside, it often seems puzzling, maybe even frustrating, when someone stays in or continues to pursue a relationship that is so obviously doomed, abusive, failing, pointless, or harmful. I wish I had a clear and presentable explanation, but I'm not sure I do. I think, for me, the relationship represented hope. It felt like a dormant part of me had come alive again for the first time since I was 23, now 30, and I convinced myself, and was convinced by the other person's words, that it was safe to bring it out. A vulnerable part that experienced the world with sensitivity and in full colour, feeling everything and open to so much more than usual. I really liked who I was around them. I had a mantra going into this budding relationship, and it was, if they wanted to, they would. I thought I made this up, but I looked it up earlier, and I must have seen it somewhere years ago because there were heaps of results for it. I shared this with the person I liked when I was questioning if they truly liked me, as they said, and they convinced me it shouldn't necessarily apply because people care in different ways. Even if there are limitations to it, I now appreciate how safe that mantra keeps me. It was like I was meant to take their word that they liked me, despite me having little to no other evidence, and be satisfied. What good are feelings you have for someone if they're completely out of sight, never shown, never manifested? Ultimately, I think this reveals how poorly we use words like care and love in our everyday lives. Telling people, using words, I love you, or I love them, or I care about you, or I care about them, is only true or useful insofar as the action of saying those words makes someone feel loved and cared about. Whether or not you intend to love someone, or you argue or believe you do, the real measurement is whether they feel loved by you. Have you ever heard something like, he loved him in his own way? It's this consolation, this total excuse for a lack of love felt. I reject, maybe childishly or naively, the idea of someone loving in their own way. Love is connection. If I say I love you, but you can't connect to it and don't feel it, then what love is there between us? What right do I have to call what I send your way love if that's not how it's received? I said earlier that my attention and affection felt like they were wasted, went nowhere to no one, despite being directed at someone. I think they liked it, and me, until they didn't. Was it warmth and affection and love until it wasn't? Is there such a thing as unrequited love? I think there are unmet expectations and unfulfilled desires. I love you is essentially a bid for someone's trust, a setting of expectations with the intention to meet them. And when these expectations are met and it's mutual, what a beautiful thing. If there's a point to this video, it's to be authentic, even if it's difficult. It's to be mindful of the expectations you're setting because you're implicitly asking for someone's trust, and that should be treated as something precious. You and I are two consciousnesses that pilot a body each, neither of which we chose, and I want us to be on a team, together, despite the limitations these bodies present. You and I can take care of one another, and the nervous systems that fill our awarenesses in most moments. Ultimately, though, we will only ever know our own body, and just as others can be kind to us, we can be kind to ourselves. I can listen to my nervous system when it feels unsafe, rather than just wishing it would turn off the anxiety. But I will trust again sometime, and I will extend myself somewhere precarious into somewhere other, and be at risk. I will hold others as they do the same with me, and I will do what I can to keep them safe. Except for when I'm playing Dead by Daylight.